Welcome back to another episode of the Zuriel show. Excited as we now stay consistent. We're looking to ideally create more content, push more content out as we're looking to drive the discussion on digital inclusion and overall driving the discussion across East Africa as we're looking to accelerate digital literacy as a whole. Today we're joined in by a special
To
guest.
inclusion and overall
Sorry for that.
driving the discussion across East Africa as we're looking to.
Sorry, something seems to have playing on the background, right? Joined in by Lorna Misoi. Lorna, introduce yourself to the people, who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Emmanuel, and I'm glad to be here. So, my name is Lorna Misoi, and I work for Oracle Technologies as a senior account manager.
Yeah.
And my main role as an account manager is to help our customers view data in new ways, discover insights, and unlock endless possibilities in their process as they work towards attaining their organizational objectives. On a personal level, I am married and we are blessed with two children, a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old. I pretty much love outdoors a lot. I'm not an indoor person. And during my free time, I'm either swimming, walking, jogging, running, crawling, doing any type of movement except just sitting. Yeah. And I also golf. And recently I added hiking to my list of activities. So, in brief, that is who Lorna is.
Very exciting and tremendous introduction as well. So today, our theme of the discussion is advice to young women in technology as a whole. The timeless in terms of when we're looking at technology as a whole, it's very complex. It's very large to just touch on or try to discuss it piece by piece in one sit down. So for this discussion, we're looking to really just look at different aspects of in terms of how to communicate, how to be of value, and how can young women ideally discover these different opportunities within technology. And through your story at the end of this, I'm sure our audience will learn a thing or two. So to kick off the discussion, we always have one question that's always the bridge, if you may, in which we like to tell our audiences our guest story. And we always ask the same question, which is what's one lesson that you learned in high school or university that's still relevant to you today?
Wow. Okay, that question takes me way back, and there's so much that, as you say, that we need to learn from our past in order to define our future. Now, in high school, so much happened, but what I can identify with is as much as education was very important and key. I learned that there's so much more outside education. There are things to do with talent that you can really build during your high school years that can foster your success in future. Yeah, for example, sports. I would encourage people to be involved in to encourage their children or their mentees to be involved in sports because from my experience in high school, I was very sporty. Yeah, and that has helped me to now that I work and I sit most of the time, my body, because I was very athletic, my body starts indicating that I need to move around, so I'm always finding something to do, get out, just keep the healthy lifestyle going. And in my opinion, this came from my early active life. I realized that if you do not have an early active life, whether it is sport or drama or music, getting involved in co-curricula, you will not be able to do this later. So this has to be a culture that has to be cultivated in high school. As far as the university is concerned, there's so much freedom in the university, and I love the freedom that comes when you move to the university, because then you have already moved from childhood into adulthood, and now most of the decisions that you have to make are based on your own experience, either earlier or in the university. And to me, this freedom comes with responsibility. And it's key to know that you have to make a decision when you're in the university with the freedom, whether it is to build yourself individually or to network or to also try out new things. Always make decisions to try anything new. Make good use of your freedom and make sure that you're always making decisions that you know that these are definitely going to affect your future life, whether it is in at work or in with regards to your family or
Mm,
friends or networks. Yeah. So for me, university just speaks the word freedom. Yeah. And that is my university life, and all that has really affected who I am today. I developed that level of independence at the university, and that has shaped how I make my decisions to date. Well, I wish I had done more, yeah, at the university level, like maybe do 2 or 3 other courses when I was younger, maybe even to do 2 undergraduates or something like that,
yeah.
because there's so much time. If somebody has that opportunity, please grab that at that point, because then later on there's so much that you can do that you really don't have time to do that. So when you're in the university, you have so much time in your hands. Do more.
Yeah.
Try even entrepreneurship. Try small shops. Try small businesses while you're at the university. Try to do 2 courses. Yeah. Try new things. Try to do something extra, whether it is a certification, whether it is entrepreneurship. You can even do small businesses. Yeah.
Mm,
Right now, I see 23, 24-year-olds coming up with great ideas and networking with us who are who are working, and see
mm,
how we can get for them individuals who can invest in their business ideas. So those are the things that with that freedom comes so much time. Young
mm.
people should learn to use that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for that. And just to add on to your point, I really agree in terms of your point on freedom as well as
Mhm.
the importance of actually sports when you're younger. Maybe I
Mm.
can actually mention, I personally as well play golf. I'm really active in it as well as
Oh, great.
yeah. Maybe I've never really shared this, but yeah, I'm handicap 7 at the
Okay,
moment.
great. Yeah.
Yes, I actively as well take part in swimming, and I can definitely say, even from my younger, specifically in high school, it allowed there was a level of discipline which it because there was a specific schedule that you sorry, there's a specific schedule that was being followed, and that schedule, ideally, even now that I have this freedom when there's nobody really telling you what to do when you're at home, when you have
Yeah.
this schedule where you're now supposed to push yourself, it
Yeah.
somewhat has played an important role, also in my own little way as a whole.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you for that.
Spot on, Emmanuel. In fact, the right word that links to sport is discipline.
Yes,
Sport comes with a lot of discipline. Yeah.
yes,
And you will see sports people will always be cautious about what they eat. They're cautious about their time. They're
mm,
cautious about how they dress. So it actually comes with a lot. Even the time management, it helps you in terms of time management. So yeah.
yes, yes. 100%. Lovely. So at the moment at Zuriel, for the Zuriel show, we have a focus on understanding Industry 4.0 within Africa / East Africa as a whole. However, for this segment in the month of March and April as well, we want to have a focus ideally where we're looking at women in technology and how we can drive those different discussions. And that's ideally the focus for the segment of today. So to kick off the discussion, maybe I can just ask, what is your impression on the overall view about women in technology? Let's just talk, yeah, from your experience.
Yeah. So I've been in the technology space for quite a number of years, Emmanuel. First, I started in banking. Yeah, my background is business management. However,
Yeah.
in terms of experience, I have extensively worked in the tech industry.
Mm,
I have drafted so many tech agreements, and I am a guru in selling technology solutions. Yeah, so in my capacity, I am expected to understand what technology can do.
Yes.
whether it is for customers or even for my mentees. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so much that comes when we say women and technology. There's so much being talked about, not just locally, but also globally, because then there are misconceptions that come
Yes.
with this. Yeah. And one of the greatest misconception that I have seen as I work in this industry is a misfit between technology and women. And this misfit starts very early in childhood. You see how, like, even during school holidays, you will
Mm,
see boys being taken for coding. You see boys being taken for technology sessions, while girls are being taken for cooking. So it starts at that level where parenting is being segregated. You can see parents segregating how they develop the culture of their children.
mm, mm.
And it needs to that misfit needs to be addressed at that level, so
Yeah.
that children are exposed to technology at an equal level, where girls are also taken for coding, girls are also taken to these technology sessions during the holidays, from the age of 6, so that by the time they go to high school, they go to primary school, they go to university, they don't shy off from these technology courses, yeah, such as engineering, IT. When you go to the university, still at this time and age, you will find technology classes where there is imbalance in terms of presence.
Mm,
You will see that there are less ladies in technology-based courses, and men are more. So you'll find the ladies more in the softer, let me use that word, softer,
yeah.
loosely for the purposes of this discussion, such as HR, you know.
Yeah.
And if this is not addressed at that level, this will continue, and it will become a problem that we need to address later in adulthood. Now, another misconception that is there regarding women in technology is leadership. Let's talk a little
Mm,
bit about leadership. Yeah.
yeah.
You'll find in these organizations, every time you just peruse through media, whether it is social media or mainstream media, you
Yes.
will find discussions talking about um, women in boards are either not there, or if they're there, they're very few. And those who are there are based on quotas. It means that probably they have been appointed to meet a certain quota, you
Mm,
know. So that that is a wrong misconception. Yeah, that,
mm,
that is a wrong idea. It's a misconception. Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
women should be given places of leadership, not to meet quotas, but because they are up to task. Yeah, women have so much to bring to the table, and they should be assessed from that front. So I am not against the policy on quotas, because then it has really helped to propel these discussions of bringing women into leadership. However, we are still behind. I hope there can be that time where women are not looked at in terms of come to this leadership role because we need to meet a certain quota, but because we have so much to bring to the table and offer in terms of decision making. Yeah. So
Yeah.
then,
Mm,
yeah, another misconception that I would want to point out is general stereotyping. You would hear somebody saying, when you go to an organization, a techie should be a guy who is wearing a hood. Yeah, that is
mm,
especially like even in Silicon Valley or such kind of setup, but not a woman who is, not, just looking like a chick. So there's a certain stereotype that is related to technology. So those are also some of the things that we hope we can challenge and get this out of that space as far as women and technology is concerned. However, I must say that I must congratulate men. Yeah, I have seen men take risks with women. I have seen men giving women leadership positions that, typically, traditionally, they would not be given, not because they are,
mm,
that person is a woman, but because she is up to task to take up that role. So there are men who have championed to see that women are taking up places because they have so much to offer. So in the technology space, we are still behind, but there's so much goodwill from all stakeholders to ensure that this gap is addressed. And when I say stakeholders, I mean the government, I mean
Yeah.
multinationals,
Yeah.
yeah, local private organizations. So there's so much goodwill.
That's very interesting points as a whole. And I think the one that really stood out among the different ones, I think I've probably not thought about also myself, or at least not um, viewed it in that way, is actually the role of the parents as a whole. Because you'll find that, yes, there is a responsibility on the different stakeholders, government to create opportunities, but at the same time, there's only so much that the government can do. There's only so many opportunities that they can provide. But if on the close to home, that support is not there as a whole, it can also be a game changer because opportunities could be available. They could all be all these different resources that's trying to be pushed out to actually bridge this, if you may, or bring women to technology who are interested in it. But if there's not that initial foundation that's supporting this young girl, it can definitely lead to a disconnect as a whole within the community. Very interesting point in that. So probably to dive slightly deeper into that, I really believe that the Kenyan government actually does as much as they can. There's obviously room for improvement in every single way in anything, in any industry. But in what ways do you feel the public sector as a whole can be more involved towards driving these initiatives?
Yeah. So that is a good question, Emmanuel, because public sector is huge. Sector is huge,
Yeah,
whether as a supplier, as a
yeah,
buyer, as a regulator, public sector plays in all this. Yeah,
yeah.
and there's so much that they can do, but key that I think the public sector can do is ensuring that there is participation in policy making, yeah, and decision making
Mhm.
from the public, yeah,
Yeah,
whether this is done through media, mainstream media or social media. The government in this case should ensure that in their policy making they do participation, and this participation should be both physical and e-participation, because e-participation will also encourage the masses to adopt use of technology, yeah, in the process. So, and when you feel involved in participation of making policies, you will be happy, and you will also live up to it and ensure that it's just not just the policies do not just accumulate dust on
yeah,
the shelves or wherever, but you make sure that we all benefit out of those policies.
yeah.
Another thing that might not be within our control as individuals is the government should make the cost of ICT affordable. Yeah, ICT is very expensive. It's expensive uh, to providers,
Mm.
internet providers, yeah, in terms of getting licenses, in terms of taxes, and even as individuals, it's expensive for us to access ICT in terms of uh, mobile, smartphones, and internet, broadband. And even when we have that broadband in our city, it can also be very low speed. Maybe if you need high speed, then again it's expensive. Um, so that is one of the reasons. That is one of the things that the public sector can contribute. Another thing is harmonization of legal framework and regulation, whether it's with the private sector and government. There's so much that can be done there.
Mm.
And then also another important thing that I would like to talk about is general literacy. Yeah,
Mm.
our literacy levels is there are some people who are still illiterate, and as long as there's that gap in terms of literacy, we will still be behind as far as catching up with technology is concerned.
Very interesting. One thing we believe in, at least we're really looking to push out within the show as well, is in order for the country to transform, the people have to transform with it. There's that. We always give the example of technology is this amazing thing that has amazing opportunities within it. But then you'll find that if the people are simply being put, simply being, if you may call it, simply being all of a sudden dumped into this new way of communicating, new way of thinking, new way of executing, it'll almost have a, if you, due to lack of a better term, it'll have a negative effect, because there's all these tools and resources that's available, but people aren't really seeing the value in them. There's not much being done in terms of taking advantage of the different opportunities that are currently existing. And maybe you can also give probably a different perspective on it, but maybe that's also why Generation Z as a whole probably don't see the importance of the Huduma number, because you'll find that Huduma number is something, from my perspective, it's something that is really going to be of tremendous value to any citizen of Kenya as a whole. But if I was to ask probably 20 to 30 of my fellow age mates what the Huduma number is and the value it will serve in our lives, probably the importance of the Huduma number, probably less than 15%, approximately, will actually know the value. So it's just going back to understanding what the importance of the digital space in terms of having that literacy and understanding of the different opportunities. Then from there, we then implement or have technology drive us forward. Because I believe in 2020, the exact statistic was 85% of pupils and students across the country were not able to go to school due to lack of technology or access to technology. So we're in a very interesting time where I believe literacy is the most important thing. And then we can, because as you said, technology is very expensive. It's something that's it's not affordable to everybody due to the economic reasons. And we're having this gap of people, this select group of people who have access to technology, such as myself. I'd say I'm very much a beneficiary of having access to technology, which then allows me to create wider opportunities within my career. So you'll find that there's this gap that keeps widening and widening if we're not able to take care of this immediate solution, which is having literacy of the digital space. And yeah, I really like your point on that. It really,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
just one more thing that I think you have mentioned, and it reminded me something. You talked about Huduma number. And this has reminded me that, our Vision 2030, how many people know what that is about? Yeah,
Yeah.
because this is one of the things that the government is doing to ensure that at a certain period, we are at a certain, we are
Yeah.
moving with the world, the rest of the world in terms of technology. So you'll
Yeah.
find that people are ignorant. They don't even know what this is, what it's supposed to do for us. And
Yes.
when you ask someone, they think that it's being backward. But in reality, as young people, whether you are in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, we need to participate in these things. We need to participate in the making of these things, and also making our leaders accountable that, okay, this is what you said you'll have achieved by a certain time. Have you achieved this? Because then if they don't do that, it means that we will be way behind. And we sit in offices, we see people with extremely smart phones, but that blinds us to the reality that when you walk out of these buildings, when you walk out of these houses, you will get enough people who are either using feature phones, yeah, which means they do not even have accessibility to digital content. And you'll find others are sharing, especially women. You'll find them sharing, a lady and her sister, or with her mother. People are sharing phones. Yeah. So it's important that the government should also work with private sector to come up with models that can make people have access to this thing. For as long as it's the very few who are able to access this, oh, we are going to be so behind in terms of catching up with digital transformation, digital inclusion, and ultimately digital equity. Yeah.
Excellent. Very, very excellent way to wrap that up. And yeah, ideally that's what it's about. And if we're able to see how we can really drive digital literacy on the grassroots level, which is what Zuriel ideally we're looking to. That's our focus for the next approximately 2 years, focused on digital literacy programs on the grassroots levels. But then for the next 6 months, we're looking to simply drive the conversation on understanding Industry 4.0, but not from a technical perspective, just from a learning experience, because we also use it as an opportunity to learn from our audience, just as you are through your story, and yes, as a whole. So I really enjoyed the great points. Maybe just the final question of the day as we bring the discussion to the close. We usually have a simple, for the very last segment, we like to focus specifically on the youth. And one question which is quite recurring is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your 20-year-old self if you had the opportunity to travel back in time or simply have that conversation? Yeah.
Uh, so I would tell my 20-year-old self
Yeah.
to value mentorship. Yeah.
Mm,
Uh,
mm,
I made so many decisions as an individual based on my experience and
mm,
based on people's stories. I used to love reading people's stories. I used to love magazines. I would get magazines and read. I always educated myself on what people have done, what decisions do they make, and most of my decisions were based on that.
mm,
However, uh, I have started mentorship programs later in my career, and this has really shaped how I make decisions. And I feel like in my 20s, early 20s, if I had mentorship in terms of somebody guiding me, in terms of what courses I choose, and not just my parents. When I talk mentors, I mean not feeling shy, walking to executives who I admire and talking to them, and asking for their opinion on certain decisions. That would be great. So that is key. Yeah, mentorship. And then another thing that I would advise my 20-year-old self is to take risks. Yeah, I started taking risks later because I was always afraid, and I feel like I should have started a business when I was 18 or 19, and I think I would have done great. I had a few friends who started, yeah. Some flourished, some made mistakes. So I feel like I should have taken that risk at that point, or change careers. Yeah, don't just stay in one role for a very long time, and change those careers that you fear the most, jump into those
mm,
early in life. Yeah. So that's the game that probably I came late into it, but
mm,
not so late. It's never too late. I try to do a prep talk to myself and tell myself, let me do it so that others can learn from me. So take risks. And also in terms of exposure, if you have any little chance to explore the world, work in different places in the world, not just limit yourself in your geographical region where you were born and brought up. If you have the chance to go to, other countries, that is great exposure. Yeah.
yeah.
A little difference brings flavor into your experience, and that makes the whole difference. Um, yeah, so those are the two most important things that I would tell my younger self. Otherwise, I think I have done myself well. I have achieved quite a number of the things that I had set my goals for myself. I always do like a 5-year period goal,
Yeah.
and yeah, so and looking forward, I have mentors, and mentorship is not just sitting with someone and talking. Mentorship is also just, going into their spaces, visiting, even networking, and a mentor, you can only have a mentor for one session. You don't have, you can sit with someone in one session and you learn so much from them. You don't have to have had a 16 or 20 sessions with someone for you to say, yeah, that was a mentorship period. No. So, and also reading books, which I didn't mention.
Yeah.
I do love reading. Reading exposes you to so much knowledge
Mm,
and information. And as they say, information is power. Yeah, when you have information, you can make great decisions.
mm. Excellent. Really, really love the piece of advice. I think one thing that probably also I like to probably stress is about the mentorship aspect, because you'll find a lot of people who are starting out just like myself, who are in our early 20s. Finding mentorship is something that's important to us because it's almost a bridge towards internship and also opening ourselves up to future opportunities. But maybe one thing I can say about mentorship is LinkedIn is such an underrated platform to simply find people who would be willing to just share 2 3 minutes of their time to simply respond back to a question. But I feel like something that I see a lot is a lot of people have the expectation that the individual should be willing to help, and you're not really being of value to them in any way. Because you'll find that yes, someone has this tremendously busy schedule, just like yourself. But if you approach someone in such a way that it's not so much about them communicating X, Y, Z to you, but you simply want to learn X, Y, Z because you're inspired by a certain aspect of them or inspired by who they are as a whole. So I think mentorship is not something that should be focused on is as an attachment thing for 90 days, 6 months,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah. Mhm.
That aspect, that I really had to stress on that, because also this having time on the show and inviting different guests personally as well has been an amazing experience. And now that
Process.
you,
Yeah. Mm.
yes, yeah,
I agree totally.
yeah, because I'll find that there's a lot of decisions that I've actually made in the past 3 to 4 months that were influenced by discussions on the show as a whole, which paid out tremendously well. So
Oh,
yeah, I
great,
really, really,
great.
really like that point of
Oh,
view.
great, great,
Yeah, yeah.
great.
Otherwise, that's the very end of the show. Probably you can let the people know how they can connect with you. Probably your LinkedIn
Yes,
page or another platform.
yes. So yeah, so I'm available on LinkedIn as Lorna Misoi, and I forgot to mention that I'm also a founder of an organization called Beyond Eyes. I formed this organization because I'm interested in inclusive tech, especially for the people who are able differently. Uh, that has really interested me lately. So this is the discussion that happens at Beyond Eyes, accessibility to tech for people who are able differently. I am also on Instagram. That is a bit less professional, yeah, and I use at Mrs. Kilach, yeah, because my marital name is Kilach, so you can find me at Instagram handle at Mrs. Kilach, and I'm also on Twitter. I love Twitter because on Twitter is where I follow the likes of Elon Musk, and on Twitter I'm interested on cryptocurrency. So I
Mm,
educate myself a lot on cryptocurrency on
mm,
Twitter. So I have different personalities on my different social media platform, and I consume content differently. Yeah. So those are, but I was initially on Facebook, but I deactivated my account because then I realized that social media tends to take up so much of your time.
mm.
So I realized that Facebook wasn't adding so much value, so I just deactivated it for a while just to see how things go. So at the moment, you can get me on the three platforms and WhatsApp. So the most direct is WhatsApp.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Thank you very much. Very informative session as a whole. I also look forward to watching back on this and actually learning once again, because I also learned that's also personally what I do. I watch back because it's a lot of things I probably missed out that I end up figuring out when I'm watching the second time.
Yeah.
That is the end of the show. You've been an amazing,
Thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you for hosting me
absolutely,
in the show.
absolutely. And maybe for the very last question of the day, did you have fun?
Yes, yes, I did. I had fun, and I have also learned a lot about myself in the process of talking.
Hmm.
You know, talking also makes the whole difference. It means that I am just getting out what is always in my mind. And I have enjoyed my time.
Excellent.
I do not mind being invited again for another session.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for reaching out. I hope you also enjoyed the session.
I know, very, very informative. Learned a lot. And
Thank
yeah, I
you.
look forward to our audience members across the different platforms, learning
Yeah.
as much as possible through this brief discussion. That's been
Thank
the
you very
end
much.
of the show. It's an absolute pleasure for the audience members for making it all the way to the end. Be sure to subscribe, leave a like below, and as always, share it with a friend if you found value in the episode. Until next time, I've been your host Emmanuel Donga. See you soon. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.